Hello, my friend, and welcome to the 591st episode of the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Today we have Steve Sims, a Brit, all the way in LA, though. He's the author of the new book, Go for Stupid, The Art of Achieving Ridiculous Goals. So this guy is crazy. I've known him for a while on Facebook, and he is outrageous. He's fun. He's authentic. Rides motorcycles, drinks good booze. But he was hanging out with Elton John, Pitbull, Lady Gaga. I mean, some crazy things, things I didn't know. So it was interesting to hear his journey, how he went from a blue-collar life, a blue-collar future, and how he immediately flipped a switch to take a chance, to change the course, the trajectory of his life, and he's done it. And so you are in for a treat. I mentioned in the last episode my new course, Copy by Wes. It's going to be live December 2nd. If you sign up before the 21st of November, it's just $150. Copy by Wes. If you're in town, come on out. It's going to be all day. I'll feed you. You'll get an autographed copy of my book. And you get the recordings and a free group. I'll support you for a month afterwards. And no big upsell. I just haven't done a live thing in a while. And members of my Gorillas of Growth were asking for it, and several of them are local. So I just said, all right, I'll do it. And a friend of mine is also in the group, and she has office space, so I can use the space. So I don't need to make a lot of money on this. And, I'll record it and sell that as a package, give it away later. And, and I'll teach you how I repurpose content, how I put it as a bonus, as a differentiator. For many years, I sold a lot of Infusionsoft. And I had mastermind groups that I would do for free if you had bought the software from me. But then I created campaigns, and I wrote a book on Infusionsoft. And so having those little things as differentiators is what helped me differentiate myself, right, from the pack. So people would be like, why should I buy from you? Well, I wrote the book on Infusionsoft. I have a live weekly course. You can ask questions. I have pre-written content campaigns I can load into your software so you can get up and running quicker. Okay, having these tools, you can't think of it as a one-off. People rarely know this. When you see those commercials, as seen on TV, but wait, if you order now, we'll send you 2 of these things, right? Some hose, some indestructible hose. You get 2 of them for $20. You're like, how do they make money on this? They make money because they sell your information. That's the real dirty little secret of those campaigns. Okay, so my dirty little secret, if you will, is that I create the content. I'm paid to make content. I can answer questions in real time. So I know that the answers that I give and the content that I cover is relevant and current and effective. And then I can resell that or give it away later as a value add. Okay, so that's my dirty little secret. And there's a bunch of them that I'll share over the course of a 7-hour day. So if you are remote, you can join in over Zoom. Man, I'm still coughing. Almost 4 weeks. This is crazy. But you can join in remotely. So I can support 100 people on Zoom, about 25 in person. So I don't know if we'll get that big, but that's how many I can support. But even if you don't want to attend it, you just want the content later, and you can watch it at double speed. Okay, and then ask questions in the group. It's the same price. So knock yourself out. Okay, copybywes.com. Go do that. If you're really smart, you'll join the Gorillas of Growth as well, gorillasofgrowth.com. And still super affordable. Live calls every week. Private group to answer your questions. I'm keeping that in. Sorry. I'm going to bed right after this. So join us there. And then 12 weeks to peak. So I just built out some extra tabs, edited some of the forms, so it'll be easier to track your progress through the program, and that's free. It's the number 12, 12weekstopeak.com. All right. Woo, I had to hit the mute button on that one. I had to get mute or pause. Pause and mute? I guess when you pause it, it's muted effectively. But yeah, 12weekstopeak.com. All right, get you some of that, and make 2023 a great year. We got some headwinds coming. The economy, recession, crypto, inflation, war in Ukraine, who knows what. Crazy elections, more and more audits and lawsuits and whatever. So put your head down. Okay, use 12 weeks to peak to focus, get stuff done. Because despite all this, like the clients I'm working with, they are growing. People in the commercial real estate space, people in the invoicing space, people in, what do they do? I'm drawing a blank on the word right now, but they help people land big accounts, RFPs, streamline that. I mean, all these crazy diverse industries, they're growing. So, whatever you focus on grows. So if you're focusing on the news and social media and politics, then your angst, your anger, your depression is going to grow. So focus on what you can control, and you can only control yourself. 12 Weeks to Peak will help you focus. All right. And like I said, it's free to join. So go do it. All right. So sign up for those and then come back and listen to this episode with Steve Sims. Steve Sims, all the way from the UK via LA, right? Welcome to the Sales Podcast, man. How the heck are you?
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, you came out with this book, and I got to admit, I was scared for a minute, right? Because it says, go for stupid. And I thought this was like how to come after me. I thought you were like gunning for me. I thought that, I'm like, is this like Get Shorty? Like, but then the art of achieving ridiculous goals. So I took a breath and I'm like, I got to talk to this cheeky bastard. And here you are.
I'll tell you now, I know we're going to go into the book, but if you took the title personally, good for you, mate. Good for you.
I'm not a smart man, but I'm persistent.
Look, I believe today, I'd like to, let's start off, okay? As entrepreneurs, we hear this saying, which really pisses me off. They say things like, hey, what would you do today if you knew you could never fail? Now, how many times have you failed and fucked up in your life?
I don't know, every day.
And how many times does it educate you to become better than you prior was?
Well, I'd like to say every time, but like I said, I'm not a smart man. So sometimes I got to do it 2 or 3 times in a row,
Sometimes you need to get a smack in the jaw twice to realize your guard's not good. Yes,
like,
correct. But we get educated from those failings, don't we? Why would we miss out on those? Because those are the things that project us into the next bit. So that was the thing that always bothered me. And then I realized today, we're actually not frightened of failing. We're actually frightened of people laughing at us. And that was the whole premise of the book. I wanted people to go, hang on a minute, I'm going to go for what I want to go for and ignore the laughter. That was my main focus. And I think that's what we need to do in quite simply a toxic world today.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up. I had Michael Hyatt on many, many years ago. I've done this for over 9 years now, and he was one of the first 50 maybe. And we disagreed. I think people are more afraid of success than failure. Have you ever pondered that? Or
most entrepreneurs go bankrupt the second they become successful.
Why is that?
Because they're brilliant at one thing and they're shit at everything else. But as entrepreneurs, we think if we're good at one thing, we're brilliant at everything. And we're daft like that. There's an old saying that someone told me years ago. The easiest way to make an entrepreneur go bankrupt is to say to them, hey, I bet you can't do this for $10. And you know full well that the entrepreneur will rise to the challenge and forget the fact that they will lose a year of their life for $10. So as entrepreneurs, we're brilliant at, painting pots, but we're not good at invoicing, marketing, channeling new clients, funnels. But because we're good at pots and we've got that level of credibility in that sandpit, we try to cope with everything. And then we start focusing, as Dan Sullivan says, We start focusing a lot on our weaknesses and ended up building really, really strong weaknesses.
Interesting. Maybe I was lucky. My grandfather was a wise dude, and my dad passed on his wisdom. But he would jerk my dad's chain when he was young, because he'd say something like, "Jody, I bet you can't pick that up and carry it upstairs." Oh, I'll show you.
Yeah.
He just wanted that big thing lifted, right? My dad would fall for it. I'm like, okay, I'm not falling for that. I'll do it all the time with my boys. My boys figured it out now, right? But I'm like, I bet you can't do that. And they're like, I'll move it, Dad. You don't have to try to trick me. Like, okay, just making sure you learn. Oh, that's so funny. Oh, man. Yeah. So Dan Miller. So stop focus. Is you saying don't focus on your weaknesses? Because some say, focus on your strengths and outsource your weaknesses, things like that. And others just say, focus on your weakness until it becomes your strength. I mean, and there's always truth on both sides of a dogma, or I don't know what you would call that, an adage, right?
Mm-hmm. So and there's good ways to look at both. I think if you can turn your weakness into a strength, then it wasn't a weakness to start with. It was just something that maybe you were ignoring. But if you're really not good at it, like me, I am really bad at pretty much most technology. I'm really shit at accounting. I hate invoicing. I hate reconciling. So because of my disdain for it, yeah, I'm sure if I focused on it, I'd be competent and good at it, but I don't want to do it. So my focus is, what can I do easily? See, I play with an ROE. If I spoke to you about business and I said to you, hey, have you checked the ROI? You know exactly what I'm talking about, the return on investment. If I put $10 in here and I get $100 out, hey, my return on investment is tenfold. Okay, fine. That makes sense. But I work on an ROE, and I've always worked on an ROE. Return on effort and energy. How much energy do I need to put into this to make it wonderful? Now, if my talent is motivating, if it's coaching, if it's writing a book, if it's pulling off a project, if it's making some fantastical dream come true, if that's my secret sauce, if that's my unicorn that I can do easily, then the effort and energy dispelled to actually pull off that task is low, but my gain is massive. So I look at it and I go, well, okay, there are people that I can recruit to do my books. There are people I can recruit to do my tech, but not everyone can reach out to Elton John. Not everyone can speak in front of a 60,000 crowd. So I focus on my strengths, and anything that even I'm marginally good at, I outsource, giving me more time in the day to focus on my strengths.
Yeah, I saw one of your testimonials was Elton John. What's that story?
It's a pretty cool testimonial, isn't it? So that was the testimonial for my first book, Blue Fishing. For 25 years, anyone out there that doesn't know who I am, and why would you? But I think it was the New York Times or the Tribune that actually said I was the most connected man in the planet that you didn't know. And I was the guy behind pulling off some of the biggest experiences for the most powerful people in the planet. I worked for billionaires for 25 years. And in fact, Forbes wrote an article on me, calling me the real life Wizard of Oz. And I used to do things like, you want a drum lesson with Guns N' Roses, you want a piano lesson with Elton John, you want to go backstage, on stage, down to the Titanic, walk on roll in a movie, drive a Formula One car. I was basically the Make-A-Wish Foundation for billionaires. And along the way, I ended up working and branding with some of the biggest organizations and luxury brands. So everyone from high-end jewelry to Formula One, the Kentucky Derby, art fairs, yacht fairs. And for, I think it was about 8 years, I worked with Sir Elton John's Oscar party. So, I got to meet Elton John, Dave Furness, the whole crowd behind that. And I worked with that crowd for about 8 years, and it was a wonderful experience. And then when Blue Fishing came out, I took a shot. Would you do a testimonial? And they did. And I was very, very excited. I don't have Elton John. And this is my latest one. I don't have Elton John on this. I've got Jay Abraham, Jim Quick, Roland Frazier, Peter Diamandis, Brandon Turner, Tucker Max, and Joe Polish. So no mega legends or icons there, just normal people.
Those are some good names.
Pretty good names. I'm pleased to say that I got to know them before I got to know their business card. So I'm very, very pleased that I can call them friends.
Yeah, that's cool. So what would surprise people to know that they have in common with billionaires? Because I know they look at them and think like they're from another planet, but these are just dudes and women, right? That wake up with bad breath and got to go pee and got to put one leg in their pants at a time like the rest of us, right?
Well, if you think about some of the richest people in the planet now, today, okay, they all started off, and you can pick very directly on Elon Musk. They all started up living a very normal, grubby, little poor life. And they were aggravated. And they were aggravated to do something. There's a classic story about Elon Musk that he was so aggravated that it took 5 days to transfer money from one US bank account to another US bank account. It wasn't like someone turned up at 5 o'clock, picked up a bag of money and drove across the road. It was nothing more intense than an email sequence of numbers. Yet it took 5 days. And we know why it took 5 days, because the bank got to play with your money for 4 days. But he was so pissed off and aggravated about it, he invented PayPal. So every billionaire that you meet today, they share two things in common. One, they're aggravated. They're bothered about something and they've gone out and created it. And once they've got that momentum and that attention, then they go on to create other things. And the second thing is impact. They realize very well that they can make more money. They can probably create more impact, but they can't create more time. So the time they have, they want to create as much impact from that as possible. So how do you handle your time? And what are you aggravated about that you can solve? And then quite simply find someone else with a problem and sell them that solution.
Is it, I guess if you truly are like pissed off enough, it probably takes that, right? Because a lot of people are afraid, or like, I don't know how to code. I don't know anything about banking. I don't know anything about web design. I don't know anything about marketing. But like, if you're truly irritated, I mean, is it, necessity is the mother of invention?
Elon Musk knew nothing about banking. Steve Jobs knew nothing about coding. So the whole point is the aggravate. You can hire someone to answer the question, but you've got to start off about the aggravation. I was a bricklayer from East London. I hung around with poor people, riding around on shitty motorbikes in crappy little pubs and then going for a pub fight on a Friday. It was a fucking awful life. I did not enjoy it. But I was that aggravated enough that I went, I need to change the room I'm in. I don't want to be doing this when I would see people in the pub with me. And bearing in mind, I'm in my teenagers. So when you're a 16 or a 17-year-old, someone in their 30s is old. But, I'm looking at these people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, still in the same bar fight as me. And I'm thinking, hey, I don't mind that now, but do I want to be doing it when I'm 30 or 40? So I was so aggravated, I went out to find a different route and I went out to have conversations. Hey, if I had to get you to meet Guns N' Roses just to have a conversation with you, I'd do it. But I've always said my business was a Trojan horse. I would help you out with this so that I could swoop in here and connect with you and ask you, hey, how do you look after money? How do you see relationships? How do you create impact? How do you find out about franchising? I was literally doing podcasting before podcasting existed for my benefit. And then I would walk out of the room and I'd make these notes and then I would start actioning it. So in the end, I wasn't as poor as the people I left, and I was quite more educated from educated people.
So walk me through that. I mean, you're a blue collar guy. You're young. I mean, did you start doing this in your teenage years or was it later?
Oh, hell, I was a bricklayer. I left school at 15, got kicked out of school at 15 in East London, went on the building site after 2 days later. I was on the building site till I was about 16, 17 years old. And it was my granddad, actually. My granddad was in his 80s. and still on the building site. And I thought to myself, my dad's here, my granddad's here, my cousins are here, my uncle's here. Is this really my life? And I went up to my granddad in tea break time, about 10 o'clock in the morning. And I said to him, Granddad, did you ever think you'd be doing this at your age? And of course, that's probably one of the rudest things I could have said. And I'm surprised I didn't get a smack in the mouth. But he turned around to me very simply, and I'll never forget word for word what he said. He didn't look at me. He blew in his tea before he sipped it. And he said, son, if you don't quit today, you'll be me tomorrow. I was like, shit. So I quit and I went out and I said to my dad, I've got to find a way of making money. I've got to find an easier life. I don't mind working hard. Hey, I'm getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm working until 7 o'clock at night on a building site, getting shit on, cut up, bruised. So I don't care about working hard. I got to be able to work smart. And that's what I did. I went out to try and find it. And of course, you know what it's like. You try loads of jobs that you're ill qualified for. I learned the word "you're fired" so many times until eventually I ended up working on the door of a nightclub. And while I thought, oh God, I've gone from a noble profession of a builder to basically a door thug. And then all of a sudden I was actually looking at people going, I'm actually able to see how people interact now. And I suddenly realized that I had a pedestal to watch human interaction. When my mindset changed and I was able to focus on body language and, facial tics, and I suddenly started getting all this education. Who's looking for a fight? Who's looking to create aggravation? Who's celebrating a birthday? Who's celebrating a new job? Yeah. And I used to play with that, and that really helped me. And then I would speak to these people and I'd be like, oh, what are you doing Thursday? And I would get them into another nightclub because that's all I knew at the time. And then those nightclubs became, shop galas when they were opening up, unveiling a new product or new clothing realm with the new season. And then cars would be opening up to show off that new range of cars. And it went up and up and up and up into the biggest award shows and events in the planet. So I just never stopped.
That's awesome. I was a bouncer when I was still in the Air Force. I had to get permission. I was an officer in the Air Force, but I was living out here in California, and my sister lived with me, and she was a bartender. So I was hanging out at the club because I could get in free and had free drinks, and I knew all the bouncers. And they're like, you should work here, man. So I had to get permission, and I don't know, I liked it. And because you made money, but you worked the door, you let all the pretty girls in. Right. And get some big ballers. They tip you, they throw cash at you. You're 22, 23, a guy throws 20 or 40 bucks at you. It's like, it's some money.
Yeah.
But had access to all the women. So it was like, it was the greatest thing, man. But yeah, after the second big fight, so I got to take one guy down. He was hitting his girlfriend. I'm like, okay,
right,
it's all over for you, buddy. But there were two big like gang fights, like and moved out into the parking lot, cops coming. And I'm like, yeah, this ain't worth a couple $100 a week. I was just doing it on the side. But yeah, you have access. You can see everything as long as your eyes are open, right? Your eyes, they weren't open initially, right? But something switched, huh?
I wrote a part about this in the book. And I class it as the yellow car experience. There's actually a bigger, longer term. There is actually a psychological term for this explanation and this test. But when have you ever walked through a car park, you're in a car lot, and you see a car and it's a funny color. It could be yellow, it could be turquoise. It's just this weird color. And you think, that's a weird color car. I've never seen that color car before. When you're driving down the highway, what's the only color car you can see? It's that color, isn't it?
Yep.
When your mind does that with opportunity, that's all you can see. You see, you talk about the door, you saw it and you went, hey, yeah, I may have to wrestle around with a few people. I may have to slap. Let's be serious. 9 times out of 10, you've got to just turn up and growl and they'll back off and you're all good. You can act the He-Man and everything's over. But a lot of people would get into that situation. The free drinks, the free, the girls and all that. For me, I've been married since like 16 years old. So I wasn't interested in the girls. I also wasn't interested in the drink because I knew the drink got people tough. And as long as I was sober and they was drunk, I could win every single fight because they couldn't punch to save their life. So I knew all of those things. But for me, the opportunity became, I could see clear. It was like the Matrix. All of a sudden, I could see all these code and digits, and I could see how people would move. And you'd see the people that really had money, and you know this, the people that really had money, they acted a certain way. And then the people that didn't have money, but pretended they had money, they acted like dicks, and you got to see this. And so you're right. Your mind focuses on the opportunities it can accept. For me, I looked on it as education. I really did enjoy it.
Yeah, that's cool. And then you parlayed it. So
yep.
What was that switch, at your because you were doing this, were you an employee or did you have like your own marketing business? Like when did you step out from that? Because 25 years, I mean, that's a career.
Oh yeah, it was a career. I had I had managed to talk my way into a stockbroking position from London to Hong Kong. And I landed in Hong Kong, and 2 days later I was fired. So I was doing the door work in Hong Kong because quite simply I didn't have a job, I didn't have any money, and I didn't know where it was going to go. As I knew that if I got you into this yacht party, if I got you into this club, if I got you into a restaurant that was sold out that night, then I could come up to you afterwards and go, hey, Wes, did you enjoy that meal last night? Did you enjoy the restaurant? And you'll be like, yes, Sims, thanks for hooking me up. I'll be like, no way. By the way, I wanted to ask you, how did you start your business? And I would start interviewing them. So as I was getting these bigger requests, people were then suddenly sending me in different directions. It literally took off. And you're right. I went from being the doorman to suddenly moving from Hong Kong to Bangkok, Bangkok to Geneva, Geneva to Palm Beach, and now I'm in Los Angeles. So along the way was just getting bigger clients, bigger events, and it was growing and growing and growing. But here's the dumb thing. About 7 or 8 years into me doing this, I ended up getting a gig in Monaco for this little car company called Ferrari. It was the Ferrari's 50th anniversary in Monaco Formula One. Brilliant event. But I was still telling my wife, hey, I'm doing what I'm doing to make connections so I can get a job. And she turned around to me and she went, you do realize you have a job. You created the job. You're in demand. These people come to you. Why work for someone else when you're working for you? And that was the first time I realized that I'd created the concierge industry. And we still arrogantly say that we were one of the first ever personal concierge firms in existence back in the early 90s.
Why do you think you were blind to that? Why, how could your wife see what you didn't see?
So we had a party many years ago, and we all had to name what our superpower was. And, you all want to say it's like, oh, the art of communication, the art of coaching. I can see people's power. And so I didn't know what the hell mine was. And I'd had a couple of old fashions in me, so I wasn't making any sense. And my wife turned around and she said, I've got Steve's superpower. And I went, all right, babe, go ahead. What's my superpower? Because here's my beautiful wife just about to say what my superpower is. Can't get any better than that. And she literally turned around and she said, Steve's superpower, ignorance. And everyone in the room just kind of looked at me like I was getting divorced. And she turned around and she said, no, you don't understand. He gets so focused at something, he can't believe that it will go wrong. They will say no to him. People will laugh at him, but he can't hear them. Objections will come in front of him, but he can't see them. He's ignorant to it going any other way than the way he's dreamed it. And that was it. I literally believe, and I'm still married, thankfully. I do believe that my superpower over the years has been ignorance. I see something, I go for it, I get it. And if I don't get it, I've certainly got something way more than if I had settled. And that's the key. People think you fail when you don't get what you want. If you go for what you achieve, it's usually a couple of inches away from what you've done before. If you go for stupid goals, and that's the whole point of the book, if you go for stupid, ridiculous goals, Not impossible. Forget that word. Never use it. Get it out of your vocabulary. Don't pay it any attention. Make your goals stupid, and you'll attack them with childlike curiosity. You'll gamify them to be able to achieve them. And that's what you've got to focus on. And when you do that, you can't hear the people laughing at you. You can't hear the people jeering. You literally focus on getting it done and attracting those people that want to support and challenge you along the way.
So when did you start making big goals like that? Because like I feel like I'm 52 years old. I'm looking around like I don't have that big goal. You know, I got 7 kids, been married 27 years. 2 of them got married. It's like, I don't know. I'm making shit happen. I train jujitsu 6 days a week. Got low blood pressure, no meds. But I don't have
those all pretty good achievements.
But I never wrote those down. I wasn't 22 and said I want to be married 30 years and have 7 kids. I mean, I tell people like I'm still kind of figuring shit out.
I think that's the biggest thing that surprises youngsters. And it's like my youngster's 17 years old and he's now trying to work out what he has to do with his life because the school's telling him he's got to sign up for college for whatever the skill set he needs. And I'm saying, son, I'm 56 years old. I only became an author 7 years ago. You know, before that, I'd only read a few books, let alone write the bloody things. So we don't know, but it doesn't need to be. And this is the key. A stupid goal doesn't have to be something like walking on Mars. A stupid, ridiculous goal is to have a healthy relationship, to have low blood pressure. Because to a lot of these people, how can you do that with today's food? Well, I can train and I can eat properly, and now I achieve it. You got 7 kids in a healthy marriage, and I'm going to, look, you're a jiu-jitsu boy, so I'm not going to challenge you, but tell me if I'm wrong here. Has your marriage been sweetness and roses for every single day of its life?
For my wife, yes, but not for me. I mean, sorry, honey. I mean, the other way around. Flip that around.
Exactly. You know that you have to work on things. And every time something happens, you repair it and make it better and stronger. Yeah, I've been married 37 years. My relationship is stronger today than when I met her because we worked at it. Your stupid goal doesn't have to be having a Ferrari. Your stupid goal can literally be being able to hold your head up high going, hey, I'm the man I say I am. I keep my word. I do as I say I'm going to do. That can be your goal today.
All right. I'm glad I asked that question. And I'm glad you answered that question.
So am I.
So tell me about your persona. I see your online persona, but I think your online persona is you.
Do you know the weird thing? So I own a branding company, Sims Media, and I've often said that I built a fantastic brand by not. Now, today, so many people will go out in business, build a website, overdress it, get someone they've never met to write all the copy, get some beautiful pictures to make them look slimmer or tougher than they are, and they end up putting something together which is not them. And so with me, I'm like, screw it. This is me. And the reason this is me is a very simple fact. My job is to make it really easy for you to decide whether or not you want to play in my sandpit. If I complicate you by using words that I don't know the meanings of, if I try to dress up without a black t-shirt or jeans or try to be someone that I'm not, then I'm trying to impress you and I'm wasting your time and my time. And we're only playing on the inevitable that you're going to suddenly discover, hey, he's not the guy I thought he was. And then that makes me a fraud. So I want to make sure that I'm impossible to misunderstand. I drink too many old fashions. I ride fast on motorcycles. I'm inappropriate on most days. I call it as I see it. I do what I do. And this is me. Hey, if you want to play, come on board. If you don't, that's equally fine. But here's the third thing. I have no one confused. I have no one out there going, this Steve Sims, Do you know I'm not sure about him? I'm wondering none of those. No one can be confused. Your decision to like me, love me, hate me, loathe me, whatever, will be really easy to make thanks to my branding techniques, because I'm not using any. This is it. Warts and all. Come play or bugger off.
You mean you're not getting into NLP and mirroring and hypnotic languaging and sound bowls to get me to know, like, and trust you?
Yeah, I'm trying to hypnotize you with my eyes. How am I doing?
It's working. Take my money.
I think the problem we got today is in life. In life, and sadly, people will know this. If you say to someone in life, the big C, they know it's cancer. You know someone that's got it. You've lived with it. My wife had it. If someone says to you, oh, it's the big C, you know what that means. Well, there's a big C in business. It's called confusion. And it's just as deadly. If you're confusing your clients, you need to cut it out. It's a cancer that will grow, and that confusion will grow. You need crystal clear clarity today. What do? I clean toilets. What do? I mend your roof. What do? I make your finances grow without the need of you. Be crystal clear in what it is you do. Make sure there's no confusion and increased clarity. And again, become impossible to misunderstand.
Yeah, I love that. You know, I lived in Austin for years. My mom still lives out there. And there's an attorney. I just looked him up to remember. David Comey, the attorney that rocks. So he's a white dude with a goatee, dreadlocks. The tips are dyed blonde. And he's a freaking attorney. All right. So when people say that won't work in my industry, I always bring him up. I'm like, if you can have a white attorney with dreadlocks that's in a rock band, do that in the law profession, you can do it for your chiropractic business. You can do it for your flooring business. You can do it for your IT company. It's like, because I always tell people, like, I love what you're saying. Like, I go for no. Hearing no early is a win.
Yeah.
It's like, let's just clear the table, folks. Let's get this out in the open, because people are like, you talk about politics and faith and family on social media. How do you do that? We shouldn't talk about sex, religion, money, politics, and mixed company. It's like, that's all I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about the weather.
Yeah.
I'm
always stunned how people want to stand out. And the first thing they do is settle in. You can't stand out without standing up. If everyone's turning right, go left. It makes no sense. But so many people do it. Look, as long as there's those kind of lemons and sheep out there that do that, makes my job a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, all of my consulting clients, I take their stuff and I'm like, it's just so, I do a good bit in technology. I spent a long time in that. So people kind of gravitate to me, and their stuff is so boring. We do digital infrastructure and we streamline your DHCP server so it has a strong firewall. Dude, really? But hey, I'm glad, because if they spoke like humans, they wouldn't need me.
Yeah, no, exactly. I had like my first book and the second book, I openly say should never have been a bestseller. Because it's simple shit that people have decided to avoid. There's nothing difficult in it, but someone's sitting there on their armchair going, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to spend $50,000 on Facebook ads because that'll make more sense. And I'm like, for Christ's sake.
I'm literally this weekend, I was going through some stuff. I know some guys. I've gone through a couple of programs. Like, I'm looking at social media and I'm not that structured. I just speak my mind when something hits me. But like you said, the simple stuff, I'm seeing these guys that are having success, and like, they'll just make a tweet. Like, I don't know. It's like, you should set big goals so you can achieve them, like 20,000 retweets. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'll just start writing simple shit because clearly that's what people want. I mean, like really? Is
Yeah.
that like, okay? But I'm like, I need to go make a list because that just seems so simple. But people need the simple, don't they?
We want there's your line. That's your tweet. People need simple. You see, we're in a world today of intense distraction and distortion. Okay. What are we in? Are we in a recession and depression and adjustment? Who the freaking hell knows? We've never been in it before because we've never come off a pandemic before. No one knows what's going on, but everyone's got an opinion about it. So today we need clarity. You know, like COVID. When COVID happened, if people had turned around and gone, oh, by the way, COVID's going to disappear at 2 p.m. on June the 21st, you'd have gone, oh, okay, then I'll learn Spanish or I'll focus on my garden or I'll learn how to cook pasta. You would have been able to have worked accordingly. But the fact that we didn't know, that was the distortion that messed up people most. They had no idea where the end date was. And as human beings, we love to say that we love new technology. We're constantly evolving. Bullshit. We don't like change. How many of us hate the look of the new car when we've got the old one? Oh, I hate that facelift. Oh, it's horrible. When an artist comes out, we only like the artist if they carry the same beat. If they've got the same kind of rhythm, track after track after track, we love them because we got continuity. But the bottom line of it is we actually aren't very good with change. We kid ourselves that we are. We ain't as involved as that.
Yep. I remember 1990, late 91, roughly, when U2 came out with Octung Baby. And I freaking love that thing. And I was at Texas A&M later and the next year, and I went down to see them in the Houston Astrodome. And I mean, it's like one of my favorite albums, but everybody like, it's so different. It's not the same U2. And I'm like, this shit's amazing, people. What are you bitching about? But they didn't stick with the mold, right?
That's the thing. You know, you can pick up any Taylor Swift, Miley Cyrus, anything. Today, there literally is mold music. You've got your 3-beat tempo, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse. The icons of the past where they would try things out and go up and experiment with different tunes. And the Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd will never, ever be created again. Yeah. But as you say, the second you step out of your path, oh my God, shock horror, people don't like it.
A friend of mine got me Peter Daltrey's autobiography. Have you heard of it or read it?
Roger Daltrey?
Oh, Roger Daltrey.
Right.
Peter Townshend and Roger Daltrey. But I'm early in the book, but he was young when he started. And Peter's like a year or two younger than him. They were young. And Elvis, had come out. It's funny you're saying Elvis had already was sucking. He was making movies, but the Beatles are coming out, the Rolling Stones are coming out. And they were talking about they were experimenting Johnny Cash and blues and just boom, boom, bouncing around until they, found their rhythm. But it's interesting, reading his story, the trials and tribulations that like big people, Elon Musk or the Who or whatever. I mean, they were grinding, right? He was working in a factory, right? He got kicked out of school, working in a factory. And he's like, I got to figure this out. I don't want to do this the rest of my life. And sleeping in vans. And it's like people feel like they're owed success nowadays.
There is an entitlement that's going around. There's an entitlement and there's a superficial laughter. Today, anyone that you revere probably went through shit to get to where they are. But everyone that wants to be someone is actually scared of other people around scoffing and laughing at them. And that's the horrible double-edged sword. If you want to stand out and do something, you've got to be prepared to be jeered at. There's a classic line that I worked with Elon Musk, and he told me years ago, he said, they will always laugh at you just before they applaud. And that's the shit today. You've got to be willing to go through that shit. If you really want that, you've got to go through this. And no matter who you are, and I remember a friend of mine years ago saying, He's so successful, you have haters. There are people out there that are just looking, okay, who can I hate on now? And I would get people saying, oh, how do you feel about spending billionaires' money? How do you sleep at night? Very, very well. Thank you very much for asking. It was just always daft the way people would naturally try to find you and jeer you. And even today, I'll speak on a stage and I'll get people going, oh, what do you think you have to talk about? Did you watch the speech? No. Do you know what I was talking about? No. Do you know anything about the event? No. The fuck you talking about then? You know, it's just, there's so many idiots out there nowadays.
Oh, yeah. And they all have a voice. I've been loving watching them. I'm talking about Elon Musk, right? Watching them on Twitter has been the best week.
Isn't it funny? You see, everyone was always about freedom of speech. And then whether you liked Trump or not, Twitter banning him from Twitter, Twitter banning him, everyone went up in their arms about, oh my God, freedom of speech. We can't say what. Elon comes along and says, I'm going to buy it so we can have freedom of speech. And they're like, oh my God, what's he going to do? He's going to police. Shut up. You know, stick to your viewpoint, will you? You know, I just find it hysterical. But it's all the people that don't have a say because they don't matter that are shouting the loudest.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the funny thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're not contributing. They're just making noise.
That's all they are. There is no benefit to them. They're just sucking our air. And I say, look, you know, I don't know what happened to COVID. Is it gone? Is it still with us? I don't know. But rather than us focusing on a cure for COVID, let's find a cure for stupidity. That would be really good.
That's too hard.
Well, that's my stupid goal. Let's find a cure for stupidity.
That's going to be difficult, but hey, I'm with you. I support you. All right. I'm going to send you. I'm going to send you $50 to your GoFundMe. Okay.
There you go.
I'm behind you on this, man. I'm with you.
Thank you.
So what's next for you? 2023 is coming up. What's the next 56 years of your life, 59 years of your life? What's next?
Yeah. So I'm constantly trying new things. I never thought there'd be a first book, so I'm very stunned that there's a second. So the book only came out about a month ago. That's got me doing more speaking gigs already in 2023. I've got some educational courses and training I'm doing. I'm trying to get people to be the change I want to see. You know, you get to that age when you just go, is this it? And I got young kids and I'm thinking, shit, they're going to grow up into this. If I can block this off at the pass, that'd be all right. And I don't like people being laughed at. I want them to be supported. I want people to know we got each other's back. And so I'm trying to get that message across, trying to start a movement where people go for stupid goals and risk achieving them. And then I'm trying to get people to actually support each other by literally looking left and going, hey, I don't know how I can help you, but I'll get the coffees while you do it. I'll be there for whatever's necessary and be part of it rather than part of the problem.
Yeah. Amen. Well, I'll support you on that.
Thank you.
I'm linking out to everything for you. I got your website, stevedsims.com, and your book is there, right? I saw that on the homepage.
Go for Stupid.
Is that the best place to go? Is to the website?
You can go to the website. You can actually even go to goforstupid.com. There's its own pretty little website.
Very nice. I will add that link. I've got your Twitter, got your Instagram, your LinkedIn. All right. I saw your TikTok. Do you like TikTok? I haven't hit it yet. I have an account. I follow my daughters. I don't know. Do I need to be on TikTok?
You need to be on everything. Do I?
Well, I'm there. I'm there. So
yeah, we know you're not. You're telling me you're not using it.
I need to be there more.
Right. Okay. So the bottom line of it is, whatever you post on Instagram, as long as it's a video, stick it on TikTok. Here's the thing. Let me ask you a question. Very direct. How much does it cost you for the membership of TikTok?
It costs my soul because the Chinese are stealing everything, but zero. Okay. $0.
So how much does it cost you not to pay attention to it?
Who knows? $1 million.
And there's the thing. You have no idea. There could be that one client that doesn't watch Instagram, but loves TikTok, that is seeing your competitor. Okay. TikTok is the wild, wild west. It started off with young girls doing dancing. Now it's got movie premieres on there. It's changing. You need to get your account. You need to show up. You need to show stuff and then slowly build up that momentum. Am I a fan of it? Not really, to be completely blunt. Will I ignore it? I ain't that stupid.
Amen. All right. But you know what? I'm not going to be that stupid either. So thank you for educating me. Well, man, you're about 90 miles from me. So if you ever come wine tasting in Temecula, let me know.
Yeah, you've just opened yourself up there, pal. All right, where's that's going to happen, man?
And I've got all kinds of bourbon back here. I can make you an old fashioned.
There you go. I'm going to bring the wife down on the back of the bike and then probably have to park up somewhere after the wine.
That's all right. We got a guest room, so bring it.
Perfect.
Steve Sims, author of Go for Stupid. Thanks for coming on the show, man. It's been great.
Been a pleasure. Look after yourself. Stay strong.
All right. Have a great one. So I just interviewed Steve just last week, so I'm pretty caught up on my interviews. So my goal is to have these done and put out within 2 weeks of the actual interview. So he's still fresh in my brain, and you could tell. I mean, we had a lot of fun right on the opening. Right, he's just an exciting, energetic guy with real stories, right? Real experiences, and it makes it creates a gravitational pull, to somebody like that. So share your own experiences. Don't hide from your blue collar background. Don't hide from your mistakes, your scars. That's what makes you interesting, and it gives you real world experience that people can relate to. So your failures teach you something. I've talked about this before. Like in jiu-jitsu, the mistakes, like not being able to tap somebody or getting tapped out, right? Not being able to escape or not seeing the move to defend it before you got in a bad place. When that happens, it teaches you and it's set in your memory. I was fighting a guy yesterday, a young dude, literally half my age. He's a brown belt, very athletic, and he had me in a bad spot, but he couldn't finish. And I said, I remember when this black belt taught me the defense to that move, right? Because he was destroying me, and then he took a minute to teach me how to defend it. And so when I got in a bad place, actually what happened, so this brown belt, he's just better than me. And rather than fight super hard when he made a good move, he made the move. I'm like, okay, maybe if I'm lucky with a lot of energy, and I'm bigger than him, so maybe I can power through it, but I was tired. And I'm like, let me save my energy. Let me, basically like in football, right? I'll let him get to the 1 yard line, the 5 yard line, and then I'm going to have a stiff defense. It's first and goal. All right. I know you're going to go for it. It's a 4 down territory, and he did, right? So I was able to save my energy, get in a good defensive position. Now, if this was a tournament, a competition, he would have won on points, right? But he didn't tap me. And so sometimes, you got to pick and choose your battles. But, my point was from failing with a black belt and then being humble and curious and coachable, that black belt took a liking to me and showed me how to defend it. And to this day, it works. So don't get hung up on your losses. Okay, just learn from them. Don't let them happen again. So Steve's book can help you if you are needing some help one-on-one. I offer that 90 days at a time, working with businesses and entrepreneurs. The Gorillas of Growth is a semi-private group, right? It's or semi-private training. Still a small group, so it feels like private coaching sometimes. So join me there, gorillasofgrowth.com, copybywest.com. That's coming up December 2nd. Save $100 if you join before the 21st. And 12 weeks to peak, still free. So hold yourself accountable. Get it done. All right, now's the time to focus. This next year, next couple of years, focus on what you need to do. I'll go sell something.